Hello, this is Dr. Phyllis Books, and I have with me today Dr. Bruce Lipton, author of Biology of Belief and a few other books. He is very well known in the fields of cell biology, stem cell research, and epigenetics. And he is very, very passionate about conscious parenting, and I asked him to speak to us today about the new paradigm that dyslexia may actually be reversible. This is a new concept, and I would like you to hear from a scientist why this reversing dyslexia is actually possible. A scientist who's also passionate about good parenting. Bruce?
There's been quite a misunderstanding about the nature of dyslexia because a lot of professionals say that this is a permanent biological behavior and that it's not really changeable. Well, this is not really correct at all. The fact is the whole brain is plastic and changeable and moldable through the way you use it and exercise it and the way you create new habits. And this is particularly important in dyslexia because it turns out that we now know that exercises that involve crossing right and left, so that you take your right arm and cross the midline and your left arm and cross the midline. Any of these exercises like this start to create a whole brain function. And when you have a whole brain function, the people that have dyslexia and exercise this way, it is recovered in a sense that it no longer bothers them during, after this exercise. So basically, what the most important thing that parents need to know about is that in biology, nothing is really that permanent. As long as you have all the cells and tissues available, they're capable of adapting and adjusting their biology. This is called epigenetics. Epigenetics is different than genetics. Genetics is genes control life, and so when I say genetic control, that just means genes are in control, and this is what people have been programmed to believe, and especially many people in the medical profession. This is the foundational belief that they get in medical school, genes turning on and off and genes controlling functions. This is totally false. There's a new science, it's called epigenetics. Sounds almost the same, but it's that epi is a revolution. So when I say genetic control, that means control by genes. When I say epigenetic control, epi means above. So epigenetic control means control above the genes. Now we're beginning to recognize that genes do not play a causative role, but genes can be modified by the way we respond to the world. This is what epigenetics is all about. So basically it says there's nothing concrete in regard to genetics. Genetics changes based on our response to the world and our beliefs and our emotions and all the other characteristics that influence our nervous system. So when a person hears, oh, you have dyslexia and this is a permanent issue, we have to recognize that it can become permanent, not because genetics make it permanent, because belief can make it permanent. And this is really the basis of the opposite of what is called the placebo effect. Placebo effect is I have a very positive belief, and I take a pill and I say, this pill is what's going to heal me. I take the pill, I get well, find out the pill was a sugar pill. What was the result? And the result was the healing didn't come from the pill, it came from the belief. So placebo effect is mind over matter in the result of positive thinking. But what people fail to understand is something called the nocebo effect. The nocebo effect says this: it's the power of belief, and that means positive beliefs have an influence, negative beliefs are equally powerful, but they work in the opposite direction. So if a person is programmed with a negative belief that they can't do something, then even if they're capable of doing it, the belief, epigenetics, over the genes, the belief will actually inhibit the ability to change. Well, the problem comes in our world today in two aspects. Most people are programmed as children during the first 7 years that when it comes to health issues, they're not the master, but the physician is the master. It's like what you hear as growing up. It's like mommy's sick, she has to go to the doctor. I'm sick, I have to go to the doctor. The programming that happens in the first 7 years hands over the power of your health to the doctor, meaning that the doctor's words become truth to us. So if I say, no, I could heal dyslexia, but I have a program when I grew up that the doctor was in charge of my health, and the doctor says I can't do it.
Or the teacher says.
Or the teacher. Because wherever you get it from your professional. You see, basically what it says is this: when we grow up, we find out there are professionals that know things and we don't, and when we identify that professional, we give them power so that their words become our truth. So the concept of dyslexia not being changeable is a nocebo belief. It is a negative belief, and it will prevent a person from actually overcoming the issues of dyslexia if that's what they believe. So what we really have to understand is the power of belief is much more powerful than the power of genes. The power of belief can rewrite genes. We can take a single gene and make 3,000 different versions of that gene just by the way we see the world. This is the power of epigenetics. It says we're not victims of our genetics. We're masters because we're the ones that can change our perceptions and beliefs and attitudes. So when it comes to dyslexia, it is a complete hindrance to healing to get a professional opinion that says this is not changeable if you have bought into the belief that that professional person is the one that has truth. So what we really need to understand is this: it's time to recognize that all genes are modifiable based on the way we use them and our belief systems are surrounding those genes. Dyslexia is changeable. I know many people who have overcome dyslexia through various activities, especially exercises that involve crossing right and left, because this brings a whole brain function into the brain. And when this happens, you start to resolve the issues of dyslexia. So the only important thing I can leave you with is this: you are not made out of concrete. The genes are not a permanent story that make your life whatever they say it is. Genes are changeable, and they're changeable very rapidly. So what we really need to do is re-empower the individual to have them recognize that their thoughts, beliefs, and attitudes can rewrite their genetics and their experience on this planet. So to me, it is really an important message that especially parents of children that express dyslexia, to not give up on this at all. As a matter of fact, that they are capable of rewriting the genes and the behavior. You are not a victim.